Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Cusick with iHorror.com. Today, we are going to be interviewing Adrian Grünberg, the director of the upcoming horror thriller, The Black Demon. Grünberg is no stranger when it comes to creating big thrills and working with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. This seasoned filmmaker is known for directing and co-writing the film Get the Gringo, starring Mel Gibson. Grünberg has also served as assistant director for films such as Mel Gibson's Apocalypto back in 2006 and Oliver Stone's Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps in 2010. Most notably, he directed Rambo, The Last Blood in 2019, which served as the fifth installment in the popular action-packed film franchise. We hope you enjoy our interview. Thank you so much for being with me today and talking to me about your new film.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations. This film, it was what I thought the best part about it was that I got more than just a shark film. I got a film that was horror. It was horror. It was suspense. And I got a film that the main character was just so full of greed at the end. And it wasn't what I expected, and I deeply enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I'm happy. Those are kind words, and they're the ones I would like to hear. Hopefully you try to give something different.
Yeah, very much so. There was a lot of different aspects to this film, which I really enjoyed. Because we get a lot of shark films now, and for going in right away, I'm like, how is this going to be different? How is it going to be different? And I was amazed at the end. And that he was the real monster, the main character at the, it wasn't just the shark. So it was great. And it was beautifully shot. And the pacing was great. That score was just great too. It just really added to the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think what one of the main things was being able to bring in a talented group of people and even adding to that as many Hispanic creatives in there, because at the end of the day, that it is a Mexican story. So, my DP, the composer, the sound designer, the production designer, they were all Hispanic. And I think they all brought that sense or that cultural sense into the movie.
Yeah, I mean, definitely did feel that. And then in the, the town was just falling apart. There was no one around, and that was just eerie in itself. You just got that sense of it was just so unstable, and I really enjoyed that part.
I agree, and I think the idea was trying not to make it a tremendously overt. There was this sense that there's nobody there, which is sort of what you want, and then you sort of build the pieces along with the actors of what happened, and then you're out there on the rig with them. So we tried to construct that passage of time and that eeriness, throughout the movie.
Yeah, I definitely felt that, and that oil rig itself was, it was creepy too. It was deserted. It was run down, falling apart. Was that a set, or was that an actual rig that your team filmed on?
No, that our production designer, Carlos Osorio, built that on the water tank. We shot in a water tank, and we built that first floor completely on the tank, so that the actors had that feeling. We don't have the money to go out on a real rig, but I think it gave us the sense and the feeling of being out there, and that the whole sound design, the creakiness, and then aided by visual effects. When you look up, those additional floors are all VFX. So I think it came together very nicely.
No, did. You guys definitely pull it off, because I would never have known that was a set.
Great.
That's the real deal.
So that's great to hear.
Good job on that. And then how was it working with Josh Lucas? I've seen in a lot of things lately. How was it working with him? Do you have any funny stories on set?
More than funny stories. I mean, working with Josh, the whole cast was amazing, and just the way they complemented each other was great, and Josh, who's a true family man himself, um, took that role, with the kids, with the actors. He'd spend the weekends, with Carlitos, with Tommy, in the sea, swimming, and we were in the Dominican Republic, so we were sort of slightly isolated from our families and our, so that sense of community and of family, we actually sort of experienced it on the set, which added to that ability of bringing it on, to life. And I think Josh was sort of the spearheading in that aspect.
No, I agree. It does resonate on screen because in the beginning of the film, when they're in the car driving, you could feel it. The bantering, the back and forth, it felt very real. Having a family of my own, I could relate totally.
Absolutely. That I mean, I take that from my experiences, but the great thing is Josh had the same thing, where he said, that's exactly how I am with my son. And Venus was amazing time, as well. The little girl, she had that in her, she's, from an Argentinian family, and they're like that as well. And Carlitos and definitely Fernanda. So, we all sort of had similar experiences. And, when you join all those together and they got along great, I think it sort of reads on screen when you see it.
No, most definitely. And was there anything in particular that was really absolutely challenging on this film that you had to experience?
I mean, every movie has its own set of challenges. For me, maybe this one was the underwater shoot, because we shot the beauty of everything. We shot everything with the real actors. Everything that's underwater, there are no stunts. It's all them, and in particular, Josh. It was a very experienced diver. What was great is being able to, we shot underwater against a blue screen. Everything else around it was created, but our shots were designed so that we could go around the actors, and Josh had to act everything being tied down underwater. So that was challenging, but it was also one of the most refreshing things, because it was so well planned and so well executed that you'd see these things against blue screen, and people who saw it in early stages just didn't understand what was going on. And I was like, it's in my mind, it's exactly how I figured it out. And then when you see it all come together, it's very gratifying.
It did definitely. I could, definitely was, and I couldn't tell. A lot of times stuff shot on CGI now with the water, and I really couldn't tell. That was one of my questions I was going to ask you. Did you guys shoot in the water, or is it just completely CGI? Because I couldn't tell.
Right. No, well, that's actually a great thing to hear. I mean, the shark was always CGI.
Yeah.
And all the environment underwater is all CGI. What's the only thing that's real is the actors, so we shot the actors doing all their moves and all the, all the designed, what they were looking at, where they were swimming, how they were swimming. So all the actors, all the characters are real, but everything around them is CGI. So I think having that ability, because you're usually focused on the character, then when your eye goes somewhere else, if that looks realistic, then you can always go back to the character and feel it, inside the movie. And hopefully we achieved that.
No, I think you definitely did. No, it looked great. Like, this was beautifully shot. That was one of the first things that came to mind was, you couldn't tell. I mean, it was just beautifully shot.
Yeah, it was. I think we have an amazingly talented DP, and who basically thinks in light and darkness. So
yeah,
he brought that, the best game possible, and I think it looks fantastic as well.
And I knew, going into this, look and see who the director is, look up your filmography, and you've done some amazing stuff over the years. So I knew we were going to get something good. At least there's going to be a lot of action in this, which there was, just looking at everything you've done. You've accomplished so much. You work with some wonderful people, just talented people. So, I mean,
I've been lucky enough, I think that as a director, I'm my own nucleus, but around me are all these people that I've had the luxury of working alongside, and I see a lot of them in what I do as well. I recognize, sometimes I'm on set and I'm thinking of Mel, or I'm thinking of Oliver Stone or Jim Jarmusch, and I see these people, reflected in my lens as well. So I've been very lucky to be able to work with them.
And is there anything right now you're working on? Anything?
I'm actually the reason. Thank you for being here on a Sunday, and the reason we're here on a Sunday is I'm packed. I'm shooting a Netflix series here in Mexico, so this is the only day I have to not be on set. So yes, I'm shooting a Netflix show, which hopefully by the end of the year will hit the screens.
Oh, very exciting. And then this isn't your first thing with Netflix. Didn't you do Narcos? Were you
right? I've done a couple of things with Netflix, and Netflix Latin America are, they're working hard at creating new content that tries to explore other worlds other than our own Hispanic markets. So I've always had a really good relationship with them, and they're great.
Yeah, they're putting out a lot of great stuff, a lot of great original content, and they still continue to do it. So that's always a good thing.
Exactly.
And is there anything in the Black Demon that you wanted to shoot but just didn't have the time or the money for it?
Sure. You always have a little. I mean, I would have loved to cover a little bit more of the action scenes and see certain things from slightly different perspectives, all in all. And look, it's part of whether you have a lot of money or little money, you never come out 100% satisfied. There's you're always sitting in the editing room saying, why didn't I do this? And sometimes it's because of the money. Sometimes it's because I forgot. Sometimes it's because I didn't think about it. You never know what it is, and that's part of the beauty of this. That you're always your projects breathe on until they come out, and once they come out, then that's when they're done. So yes, there's always things that you would have liked to incorporate, but you get that your shot, and you do the best you can with it, and look, I'm very satisfied with what came out at the end of the day.
That's really good. And then do you ever critique, like years later, go back and watch any of your films and kind of critique it and think I should have done this better, or I could have done this?
No, I do that so much throughout the process. The self-loathing and hatred of myself happens for so long. So after I edit and it's out there and there's nothing else I can do about it, next you have to move on. But absolutely, that happens all the time. But it happens throughout the process of the film itself. When you're editing, when you're designing the sound, where you're looking at VFX, and you're always, there's things that stick with you, but they're your own private, demons. So no worries.
Yeah, I bet it just never goes away, but I see what you're saying. Makes sense.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, once a movie comes out, it lives. It'll stay there. So you look for the next thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received during your career? Because you've been doing this quite a while now, and you've, like I said earlier, you've worked with so many talented people. Was there anybody that maybe mentored you in your early years, or you looked up to?
Look, there's a number of people that have marked my career and at pivotal points in my career who have been very important. One of the main ones for sure is Mel Gibson. I did Apocalypto alongside of him, and I more than an actual piece of spoken advice, I think being able to see some of these people do what they do and how they do it, and understanding how different people's creative processes work, able to make my own. That to me is the real luxury of having been able to work with other directors. Usually as a director, you don't get to work with other directors. And because I came up as an AD, I have all these amazing set of memories of all these people, and there are really specific moments of things that I do on set that I remember seeing Peter Weir do, or Mel, or Jarmusch. Just I remember the moments when I'm doing them, and I'm like, oh, that's where it comes from.
And then, what are some of your favorite films? Is there anything that you like revisit once a year, or a couple times a year?
Sure. I mean, there's movies. Look, there's so many out there, but
yeah,
for sure, the Godfather is usually, it ends up, anything I do, there's always a Godfather representation somewhere, whether it's a character or a situation or a line or a look. That it always flourishes, in what I do. The Coen brothers are always in the back of my mind because, they're, again, you see something that you can see over and over again, and there's subtleties and differences every time you see them, and that not very many filmmakers can achieve that. So I would say that.
Very good. That is, like I said, you've done so much, and I just look at this list, and I'm just, some of these people that you've directed, I've just grown up with watching, even when I was a young child, and it's just
me too. I mean, having worked with Sly after
exactly
growing up with Sly, I grew up with him. Rambo, Rocky, these are all movies that shaped the way I see movies. And then having the ability of working alongside somebody like that is mind-blowing to me.
And is there anybody that you haven't worked with that you really want to work with in the future?
Well, I don't know that I'll ever get a chance. I would have loved to work with Gene Hackman. I don't think I'll ever get a chance to do that. And as directors, like I said, there's a lot of them out there, but I think if I would have begged to work with the Coen brothers, and just at least see how they create, like Joel said on an Oscar night, their little corner of the sandbox. That's the true filmmaking, just creating those characters and how they come about. But anyway, no regrets.
And is there one film in your list that you've done that really defines you as a director?
I mean, look, it's not a very long list of films that I have directed. There's a lot of me in every movie that I've worked in, especially living in Mexico and having all these movies come to Mexico. It allowed me to incorporate Mexican actors, to incorporate some of that flavor to those movies. And I've always worked in general with directors that were inviting to that they didn't shun away from that. Of the ones I have done, I would say probably Get the Gringo is the one that gave me the most liberty because it was Mel and because how it was. But there's definitely a lot of me in everything I've done. And then not directed, probably, again, there's a lot of stuff out there. Apocalypto was one of those game-changing shoots, that defined, the process of filmmaking to me.
And have you shot in any other countries besides Mexico?
Oh yeah, I've shot. Well, I mean, whether I've shot in Africa, I've Europe, the U.S., Argentina, Brazil. I've had the good fortune of being able to travel around and see how other people work, which is always fascinating as well.
And my last question is back to the Black Demon, the the folklore behind the stories of the fishermen. Is that a true story around? I think around Baja, California.
The legend is real. The legend of the Black Demon exists. The sightings of there are no images
Mhm.
It's sort of a Loch Ness monster. There's a folklore behind this giant shark off the coasts of Baja. It hasn't been discovered per se, but every so often there's a new sighting, and somebody comes and says, "Oh, I saw this black creature." So you choose to believe what you want, and not knowing sometimes is as powerful as knowing. So the actual folklore is true. Whether the animal exists or not, we don't know. And then to me, tying it to the whole mythology of Tlaloc just makes it, to me, more real and understandable.
Yeah, very much so. Well, thank you, again, so much for speaking with me and taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you.
Congratulations. The film, I believe, will be out on April 28th. And I'm excited to start, hearing the vibes and the kickback on what other people think.
Me too.
And hopefully word of mouth is strong. So hopefully it'll be that way in this case. So
absolutely. Knock on wood.
Yeah, definitely. We're sporting kind of the same do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, sir. You have a wonderful day, and thank you again.
You too. Thank you very much. Take care.